From NBC News, this is Today's Take with Al Roker, Natalie Morales, and Willie Geist, live from Studio 1A in Rockefeller Plaza.
Look, we all go through some rough patches in life. Maybe you lose a job or an important project turns out to be just a complete flop.
And there are two ways to handle those setbacks. You can either dwell on them or you can then bounce back and turn that failure into success. More Magazine recently covered this topic, and Leslie Jane Seymour is the editor-in-chief, and Ish Major is a psychiatrist. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Leslie, as we mentioned, this is an article that you guys deal with in the current issue of More Magazine, and you talk about how failure often can lead to success if you use it the right way, right?
Right, absolutely. And I think women are particularly terrified of failing. We have a whole culture of fear of failure. So it's a big hurdle, but it actually can turn out good for you if you know what to do with it.
Okay, so Dr. Ish, talk to some people suffer from, they have this failure, it's imposter syndrome. What is that?
So Al, imposter syndrome is when that failure touches on that biggest fear a lot of us have, which is that maybe we're not good enough, or maybe we're not worth it. And Leslie, like you said, it touches women more so because women are more nurturing. They look inward for causes of problems, whereas guys, we look to the outside environment. We're more hunter-gatherer, and so it affects you guys way more than it does us.
And men always tend to blame something else. Whenever a guy fails, they always sit there and go, you know, but he was a jerk. My boss was a jerk. It wasn't going my way. And women are like, oh my God, I'm a failure. I'm a terrible person. I'm a bad mother now. We tend to like broaden it so that it becomes this shaming thing for us instead of just this little tiny incident.
All right, Leslie, let's talk about ways and how we can bounce back after we experience a setback. Because really they're setbacks, not necessarily failures.
Yes.
And you say that we should let ourselves feel a little bit of that devastation.
Feel the devastation, don't avoid it.
Don't be paralyzed by it, though,
Don't be paralyzed by it. But I think if you try to avoid it and pretend like it doesn't exist or you're just moving right through it, it's going to come back and bite you at some other point. So you can go with it for a little bit. You don't want to sit with it forever. Again, women tend to ruminate, don't they, more than men?
Absolutely. And so what you've got to do is allow yourself to feel it.
Yes.
And when you get frustrated, let that frustration motivate you to kind of change your approach now.
But how long do you sit there before you start moving on?
Not forever. I mean, that's the one thing that women tend to do, and they spend all the time with their friends and keep going over it, over and over. You move on, girlfriend.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can have a little bit of that, but then you've got to set a time and say, I'm going to give myself 2 weeks. I'm going to cry, I'm going to whatever, and then I'm going to move on. And sometimes asking your girlfriends to do that for you is helpful.
Sure, it is. It can be.
Find your support system, I would imagine. You said you find your girlfriends, but you also say be patient and don't worry about trying to be successful so soon thereafter, right?
Well, yes, you have to give it some time so you can get some learning lessons out of it. And I have to say, really, failing is quite freeing. I mean, because then you're no longer worried about the worst. I mean, women especially tend to worry about devastation. And if you've already been through the devastation, somehow you can feel better about yourself, don't you think?
I think so. One of the biggest things about failure is a lot of people never allow for the fact that it could actually happen. And so when it does, it seems something catastrophic that you can't recover from.
Yes.
But then you realize it's not the worst thing in the world.
Exactly.
That's right. Once you've fallen and gotten up, there's an incredible strength that's built from that.
Yeah, you're empowered by that. Leslie Jane Seymour, great stuff in More Magazine. Thank you, and Dr. Ish Major. Great to have you both here.